Hello, so we are back again. Now we are continuing with immunity. So immunity, every day we are exposed to a large number of infectious agents. However, only a few of these exposures result in disease. Why this is due to the fact that the body is able to defend itself from most of the foreign agents. So this overall ability of the host to fight the disease causing microorganisms conferred by the immune system is called immunity. Immunity is of two types: innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity is non-specific type of defense that is present at the time of the birth. This is accomplished by providing different types of barriers to the entry of the foreign agents into our body. Innate immunity consists of four types of barriers. There are physical barriers. Skin on our body is the main barrier which prevents entry of the microorganisms. Mucous coating of the epithelium lining of the respiratory, gastrointestinal, and urogenital tracts also help in trapping microbes entering our body. Physiological barriers exist in the stomach, saliva, and the mouth, and tears from the eyes all prevent microbial growth. Cellular barriers, certain types of leukocytes, WBC of our body, like polymorphonuclear leukocytes, albumin and neutrophils, and oocytes, and natural killer type of lymphocytes in the blood, as well as macrophages in tissue, can phagocytize and destroy the microbes. Cytokine barriers, virus infected cells secrete proteins called interferons which protect non-infected cells from further viral infection. So by this we can conclude that we get exposed to many kind of infectious agents, but still we don't get always ill. It's because that of the presence of immunity in our body. Immunity is of two types: acquired and innate. Innate means that we have got since the birth, and acquired which we have acquired in our lifetime, life duration. And when we talk about the innate barriers, so we have like it's non-specific because they are not specifically acting for each and everyone. They are just present there and they act in their own way. Like we have physical barriers, physiological barriers, cytokine barriers, and also cellular barriers. So in physical barriers we have our skin and the mucus and our body. And physiological barriers we have acid, saliva, and the tears. And in the cellular barriers we have our certain type of leukocytes or PMNL, neutrophils, monocytes, and NK cells, and all. Cytokine barriers we have our interferons. The interferons are secreted by the virus infected cells, and they just also help in maintaining the immunity inside our body, because they protect the non-infected cells, because those cells which have already been infected by the virus would lead to secretion of the interferons, and they would protect the non-infected cells from further viral infection. Now we talk about the acquired immunity. The acquired immunity on the other hand is pathogen specific. It is created by memory. This means when our body encounters a pathogen for the first time, produces a response called primary response, which is of low intensity. Subsequently encounter with the same pathogen increase highly intensified secondary and domestic response. This is ascribed to the fact that our body appears to have memory of the first encounter. So when you talk about the acquired immunity, so we have the pathogen specific immunity, means they are active specifically for everyone. Like if a virus has come, they would act differently. If a bacteria has come, they would act differently. So these different actions towards them is known as the pathogen specificity, and it is connected with the memory, because in this when the pathogen enters, so they develop a memory for the first time, and it's called the primary immune response. In the primary immune response, the person would be getting ill because it's of low intensity. But when the secondary immune response and or the animalistic response, obviously the person has already remembered all the kind of things, and when the animalistic response means it is not forgotten. So when a thing that is learned and still we have to revise it, so it would be fast, right? So in the secondary immune response is fast, and in the secondary immune response we don't get ill, means whenever we encounter pathogen for the second time, we are almost immune to it. Okay, so the primary and secondary immune responses are carried out with the help of two special types of lymphocytes present in our body, and that is B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. So when we're talking about this PIR, SIR are all the part of the immunity, acquired immunity. So how do they get active in our body? So obviously two cells are responsible for that, and they are T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes produces an army of proteins in response to pathogens into our blood to fight with them. These proteins are antibodies. And T cells do not secrete antibodies but help B cells to produce them. Each antibody molecule has four peptide chains, the two small called light chains and two longer heavy chains. Hence, an antibody present is H2L. Two different types of antibody separation of body: IgA, IgM, IgE, and IgG. A cartoon of antibodies is given in the figure because these antibodies are found in the blood. The response is also known as a humoral immune response. This is one of the two types of our acquired immune response, antibody mediated. The second type is called cell mediated immune response or cell mediated immunity. The T lymphocytes mediate the CMI very often when some human organs like heart, liver, eye, liver, kidney fail to function satisfactorily. Transplantation is only remedy to enable the patient to live a normal life. So then such begins to find a suitable donor. Why is that the organs cannot be taken from just anybody? And What is that? The doctors checked. So grafts from just any source, an animal, and a primate or any other human beings cannot be made since the grafts will be rejected sooner or later. Tissue matching, blood group matching are essential before taking any graft transplant, and even after this, the patient has to take immunosuppressants all his life. The body is able to differentiate self and non-self, and the cell-mediated immunosuppressants responsible for the graft rejection. So obviously, when we see about the CMIs, so it's acts in the what do you say? It acts in the tissue region. And when you talk about the blood, so in the blood region the EMIS acts. So what actually when we talk about it, so cell-mediated immune system is known as the tissue, is for the tissue, CMIS, and AMS, antibody immunity system is for blood. And this antibody one is known as the humoral too, because as we have learned that the humoral, the fluid connected, so obviously it's acting the blood, the AMI, the antibody immune system, so it's called the humoral immune response too. So when I talk about this beta lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, so B lymphocytes produce an army of proteins in response to pathogens to blood to fight the pathogen, and these proteins are called antibodies. So basically the B lymphocytes are responsible for producing the antibodies, which are here referred to as army of proteins. And while the T cells do not themselves produce the antibody, but they help the B cells to produce them, because we have learned about the T helper. So whenever this is comes, so obviously the T helper would say to the B cells, B plasma cells, to produce the antibodies. So yeah, it's like that. So when we talk about the antibodies, so there are 4 peptide chains. So 2 are heavy and 2 are light. So heavy 2 and light 2. So actually H2L2 is used to refer to as any of the antibody. And yeah, antibodies are found in the blood. It's known as humoral immune response. And like T lymphocytes would play a role in the CMIS, and the B lymphocyte would play a role in AMIS. So it's like that. So CMIS would be T lymphocyte, and this is the B lymphocyte. And when we talk about the graft rejection, that means like if organ in our body has to be transplanted due to some kind of reasons like failure of it or damage of it. So what's actually why don't we just take an organ of any other thing or animal or human being only and just place it on our body by surgery? Why we don't do this? Because of the rejection that our body would give to that. Because if we still think of it, it's not a foreign body. Why should we accept a foreign body inside us? So obviously it's like that, and due to this rejection is occurring, and this graft rejection process due to cell mediated system, because you obviously know the organ will be part of the tissue system, and obviously in tissue the CMIS acts. So yeah, it's like that. So for getting any organ transplant in our body, we have to do tissue matching, blood group matching, and yes, it's like that. And obviously when we took go to refer that all, so we get to know that for the self, it will be higher priority of getting them matched, and then after the relative, friends, and before them parents. So yeah, it's like that. Now moving on to the active and passive immunity. So what actually this active passive immunity means? Because from the immunity, for we have seen 2 types of immunity: the innate immunity and the acquired immunity. Now to go to the active and passive immunity. So when a host is exposed to antigens, which may be in the form of living or dead microbes or other proteins, antibodies are produced in the host body. The type of body is active body. So whenever antigen or disease causing organisms enters our body and our body acts against it, so also known as active immunity. So when a host is exposed to antigens, which may be in the form of living, they may be living and they may be dead. So obviously with the bodies, our body would produce the antibodies against them, and it will call as active immunity. So active immunity is slow and takes time to give its full effective response. ठीक है, तो एक्टिव इम्यून रिस्पॉन्स होता है. So active immune response, that our body will produce antibodies against the antigens, obviously it will be slow, because whenever you are given a work, first we have to need to analyze it and work for it. It wouldn't like that when we given the work, we'll just do it in such a second. It won't go like that. So obviously it's like detective immunity is slow and takes time to give its full effective response. Injecting the macrons deliberately during immunization or infectious involved gaining access into the body during natural infection induce active gain immunity. So sorry about the vaccination and all kind of everything that the antigen is placed in our body and the antibodies are produced. So it says that the active immunity is slow and takes time and it's fully within. Injecting the microbes deliberately means like janbooch ke. During immunization or infectious organisms gaining access in the body during natural infection. So it is calling a natural infection induced active immunity. So they also induce the active immunity, means whenever injection of means like antigen is given in body, your body is forming the antibodies against it. So it's also a case of active immunity only, like immunization process we are on active immunity. And like the host is exposed to, this is also active immunity. So we have two cases of active immunity when the host is directly exposed or the vaccination is given. Now talking about the next, when ready-made antibodies are directly given to the given to protect the body against the foreign agents called passive immunity. Do you know why mother's milk is considered very essential for the newborn infant? The yellowish fluid lost from secreted by mother during the initial days of lactation has abundant antibodies IgA to protect the infant. Then the fetus also receives some antibodies from their mother through the placenta during pregnancy. There's some examples of passive immunity. So yeah, here whenever foreign means already the antibodies is formed and it is injected in the body, it's passive immunity. And the first case was immunization, that antigen is put in our body and our body forms the antibody. But in the second case, the antibodies are themselves formed, means they are from the anti-serum, means they are like a horse. We have to horse, can we imagine? We have put the antigen in his bodies and his body formed the antibodies, and we are in a severe condition. We need antibodies immediately, so that antibodies would be transferred immediately to us. So it's called the passive immunity that has been provided to us. And when we talk about the difference between them, so there will be lag period present in the active immunity but not present in the passive immunity, because directly we are given the antibodies, so there would be no time difference between the antigen and antibody in the body. So yeah, and when you talk about the mother's milk, so mother's yellowish fluid that we drink from when we are infant, so it's a colostrum. So colostrum is abundant in presence of IgA, and many other antibodies also pass through the placenta when the baby is being formed inside the womb. And yeah, it's like that. So that's why it's always said that mother's milk, the initial mother's milk, is very important for the child to be fed. Now, vaccination immunization. The principle of immunization of vaccine is based on the probability of memory of the immune system. So, why are we getting immunized or why are you getting vaccinated? It's because of the memory of the immune system. Because they all help in the memory, forming the memory of the immune system soon, before the antigen, that is a severe one, enters our body. So, in vaccination, preparation of antigenic proteins of the pathogen or inactivated weakened pathogen are introduced into the body. Inactivate or weakened pathogen, like you can say attenuated. You could give a new term to it. Attenuated means they are weakened and the antibodies produced in the body against these antigens would neutralize the pathogenic agents during actual infection. So the antibodies which are produced in the body against So the antibodies produced in the body against these antigens, means which are injected in our body, the attenuated one, would neutralize the pathogenic agents during actual infection. So whenever this pathogen, like we injected with that, and our body formed the antibody. So whenever our body will then form the memory of it, and whenever the actual pathogen comes, means actual, the strong one comes in our body, our body has already formed much of the antibodies, and it would be very easy to fight with the pathogen that has entered in our body afterwards. So yeah, it's saying like that only. These antibodies produced in the body against these antigens, which are first injected, would neutralize the pathogenic agents during actual infection. Because first we are causing false infection by injecting a weakened pathogen or a dead pathogen or only the antigen of the pathogen. So it's like that. The vaccines also generate B and T cells that recognize the pathogen quickly on subsequent exposure and overwhelm invaders with a massive production of antibodies. So memory T memory and B memory are mostly formed in this case, and when the SRO response will be there, so it will be fast. So the vaccines also generate B and T cells that recognize the pathogen quickly on subsequent episode and overwhelm the invaders with a massive production of the antibodies. So the massive production of antibodies will occur. And if a person is infected with some deadly microbes to which quick immune response is required, as in tetanus, we need to directly inject the performed antibodies or antitoxin or preparation containing antibodies to the toxin. Even in cases of snake bites, injection which is given to the patient contain performed antibodies to against snake bite. This type of immunization is called the passive immunization. So obviously we have learned about the passive immunity. So it's like that if the person is in danger or very dangerous kind of microbes have entered his body and it's getting replicated or very fast pace. So obviously we need the antibodies as soon as possible. So in that case, what we will do is just like that. We will just inject the anti-serum, means all the antibodies that are already being formed outside or of any other organism. So it's like that. And the performed antibodies or antitoxin preparation on the antibodies to the toxin, even in cases of snake bites. In cases of snake bites and in the cases of tetanus, the passive immunization is provided. So now important like that we're going to talk about is that. So first one was of the IgA that is present in the colostrum. So when you talk about the IgA, it's a secretory antibody Yeah. Now, the next one is the recombinant DNA technology we are talking about. Is the recombinant DNA technology has allowed the production of antigenic polypeptides of pathogenic bacteria or yeast. Vaccines produced using this approach allow large-scale production, hence greater availability for immunization, which is being produced from yeast. That was just couple seconds. So yeah, we are talking about the recombinant DNA technology. So recombinant DNA technology has allowed the production of antigenic polypeptides of pathogenic bacteria or yeast. Recombinant DNA technology has allowed the production of antigenic polypeptides of pathogenic bacteria or yeast. Vaccines produced using this approach allow large-scale production and has greater availability for immunization. Example, hepatitis B vaccine produced from yeast. So recombinant DNA technology की जब बात करते हैं, recombinant DNA technology has allowed the production of antigenic polypeptides of pathogen bacteria or yeast. Vaccines produced using this approach allow large-scale production. So recombinant DNA technology is a technology which we have to learn afterwards. So in this we have to just remember that the hepatitis B vaccine produced from yeast is produced by using the recombinant DNA technology, and this will allow the production of antigenic polypeptides of the pathogen bacteria or yeast. And it also has the production on large scale. So when we get to know more about it, we will see recombinant means any kind of recombination frequency, like thing that we have already studied would be occurring in this. So we have to isolate the antigen forming gene, then attach to YAC, and the transgenic organism yeast culture isolate the antigen. So when we talk about the first generation vaccine, so it would be killed vaccine and toxoid vaccine, and second generation vaccine is the antigenic protein of it. So yeah, I suppose like that. So now moving on to allergies. We have when you have gone to a new place and suddenly you start sneezing. You started sneezing. When you go to a new place and suddenly you started sneezing, wheezing, or for no explained reason, when you went away, your symptoms disappeared. Did this happen to you? Some of us are sensitive to some particles in the environment. The above mentioned could be due because allergy of pollen, mites, etc., which are different in different places. The exaggerated response of the immune system to certain antigens within the environment is called allergy. So, for defining allergy, the first term you are using is exaggerated response, and the substances to which such an immune response is produced is called the allergens. For against them, this allergy occurs, and the antibodies produced to these are of IgE type, because we've already learned that so the IgE is for allergy and for helminthic infection. Which are the common examples of allergens are like mites in dust, pollens, animal gland, etc. Symptoms of allergic reaction include sneezing, watery eyes, running nose, and difficulty in breathing. Allergy is due to release of chemicals like histamine and serotonin from the mast cells. So yeah, there was a release of chemicals like histamine and serotonin from the mast cells. Determining the cause of allergy, the patient is exposed to or injected with very small doses of possible allergens, and the reaction study. The use of drugs like antihistamine and adrenaline and steroids quickly reduce the symptoms of allergy. So they use the drugs like antihistamine, adrenaline, and steroids to quickly reduce the symptoms of allergy. Somehow, modern day lifestyle has resulted in lowering of the immunity and more sensitivity to the allergens. More and more children in metro cities of India suffer from the allergies and asthma due to sensitivity of the environment, and this could be the cause of the protected environment provided early in their life. So now we have to go the allergies we have seen. Now, I guess we should move on to autoimmunity. So memory-based acquire. Well, we have more points to see in that. GR response, immunological memory, cells of the immune system. So on top of cells of immune system derived from pluripotent stem cells present in the bone marrow. Pluripotent stem cells, hematopoietic stem cells are of two types, myeloid stem cell and the lymphoid stem cell. The myeloid stem cell, monocytes, macrophages, erythrocytes, granulocytes and mast cells, lymphoid stem cells, NK cells, lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, or lymphoid stem cells. Others are from myeloid stem cells. So cells of the acquired immunity would be from the APC or the lymphocytes. So APC, antigen presenting cell, macrophages are there, monocytes is there, dendritic cells, skin, kapha cells, liver. Lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, T lymph helper, T killer, T suppression, T memory, B circulating cells and B memory cells. Immune system is like lymphoid organs are there. So primary lymphoid organ, secondary lymphoid organ, lymphoid tissue is there, malt and cells, lymphocytes are there, and soluble molecules, antibodies are there. So immune system, when we talk about that, so bone marrow is there. So bone marrow is there. So lymphoid stem cells, which would be providing like the myeloid stem cells, lymphoid stem cells will be having NK cells and T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. So the thymus and the bone marrow play a primary primary lymphoid organs they are. So thymus is producing the T lymphocytes, cortex part multiplication, immature T lymphocytes will be there, and medulla TCR develop and by the thymosin and mature T lymphocytes develop. And when talk about the bone marrow, so B lymphocyte will develop by the multiply and BCR develop, mature the B lymphocytes, and BCR is also developed by the thymosin only and SLO. So in this way, the primary lymphoid organs will be thymus and bone marrow, while the secondary lymphoid organs will be mature T lymphocytes and mature B lymphocytes. So examples: tonsils, spleen, Peyer's patches, appendix, lymph nodes over there. And B lymphocyte is covered in bursa of Fabricus present. So when we talk about the BCR, so BCR is bursa of Fabricus, actually not the blood. Here is thymus. Like B is not for bone marrow, it's for bursa of Fabricus. So lymphoid organs we have two, PLO and SLO. So PLO here origin, multiplication, maturation of lymphocyte occur, means originating and its multiplication, its maturation all occurs in the PLO only, and they differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocytes, bone marrow and thymus. Other examples of the primary lymphoid organs. And about the secondary lymphoid organs, so they provide a site of for interaction of lymphocytes with antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. So these are the sites where the primary lymphocytes which are interacting with the antigens and then proliferate to become the effector cells, means acting against the antibody. The bone marrow is the main lymphoid organs present along bones. Obviously, the thymus is a lobed organ present beneath breastbone near the chest, near the heart, sorry. And एज के साथ साथ thymus की साइज कम होती जाती है. Spleen is a bean shape, so main reservoir of erythrocytes, lymphocytes and phagocytes. Trap blood-borne microorganisms. Main reservoir of erythrocytes, lymphocytes and phagocytes. So lymph nodes are there, so small solid structure are lymph nodes, so they are present along the lymphatic system and trap the microorganisms present the lymph and tissue fluid. Lymph nodes would do this work because lymph nodes are responsible for the it's like that. And when you move forward, the malt mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, it constitutes about 50% of the total lymphoid tissue, and it's present in most abundant amount inside the body. The malt lymph nodes present the microorganisms present the lymph, and spleen is a bean shape, main reservoir of erythrocytes. Then we have active acquired immune system. This is natural one, CMIS and AMIS, so cell-mediated immune system or cellular immunity or antibody immune system or humoral immunity. So the CMIS is based on the T cell actually, and it's constituted about 60 to 20% of the part. And while which come with the EMIS based on B cells, and 10 to 20% part is constituted. And pathogens are the macrophage would get the APC and clonal selection would occur, means like pathogen enters and macrophage would try clear register. So APC would be formed by getting itself attached, its antigen attached on its body, and a T helper would come and T helper would make this information available for the T killer cells and the B plasma cells. The T killer cells would be in less number before, so they would make copies of themselves, so it's called the clonal selection, and they form the effector cells, while the B plasma also forms the clonal selection and performs the clonal selection and forms the effector cells, and so then it forms the antibodies, and these antibodies either do agglutination or opsonization or neutralization and react against the pathogen, while the effector cells or the T killer cells would form a perforin, means pores in the pathogen, and the water would enter it and it will burst, or lymphotoxin would be released to kill the pathogen. So when these works are done by the T killer and B plasma cells, so they have to be stopped, right? Because if this occurs, it will occurs with the cells and it will be disrupted. So for suppressing them, there's a T suppressor cell and would suppression with both T killer and B plasma cells. So graft rejection, every time this is a neat question that every graft rejection is done by CMS transmitted organ. So what's antibody actually? So complex glycoprotein gamma globulin protein secreted by the B lymphocytes. So antibodies of Y-shaped structure, 4 polypeptide chains, so H2L2 molecule, 2 heavy chain and 2 light chain. Antibodies detect the serum globulin. So antibodies detected in the serum globulin because obviously they're global rhythm. So when talking about the structure, it's a light chain and variable region, constant region of light chain, and paratope, antigen binding site, antigen determinant site is epitope. Papain enzyme, digestive enzyme is used over antibodies to cutting the fragment of antigen binding site, and the fragment of crystallization will be depositing. So it's a FC and FAB, which is made by the papain enzyme, because when it's cutting the digestive enzymes, obviously it's like that. Other types of antibodies, we talk about the IgG, is the monomer paratope 2 is the most abundant antibody and the smallest antibody. So obviously it's providing the natural passive acquired immunity. So by the natural, we get to know that obviously it's represented in our body with naturally, and by the passive, we get to know it's like injection of our body in some kind of anti-serum manner. Means we get from another person, like from mother's cause, from mother's placenta we get this. So yeah, it's a passive acquired immunity. IgE, when we talk about, so it's a dimer, so paratope 4 secretory antibody is present in body secretion like colostrum, sweat, saliva, and tear. IgE monomer paratope 2 present in least concentration formed during allergic reaction. So it's like that. Helminthic infection, IgD monomer paratope is equal to 2, so it's a surface antibody. It acts as a BCR. So IgM is a pentamer paratope is equal to heaviest, largest, oldest antibody for acute infection. For IgM and for chronic infection, we have IgG. Because of IgM at the time of birth, intra-epithelial infection occurs. So when we talk about the functions of antibodies, so they form like agglutination, antigen antibody reactions, and lysis, oppositionation, so coating of the pathogen around the whole pathogen. For the opsonization means IgM and IgG opsonian body would be formed, like it was just covering it all, and a phagocytosis would be done. And neutralization means the antibody just neutralizes the excitotion of the pathogen. First line of defense is a physical barrier as skin, mucosa, and all. Second line of the defense would be physiological, cellular, and cytokine. Third line of defense is the B and T lymphocytes. First defense against pathogen is innate, while the better defense is a acquired one. So effectiveness, when we talk about it, so the cell-mediated immune system. Cell-mediated immune system is more effective than AMIS than innate. So when we talk about the vaccination, active immunization, so it's an artificial active acquired immunity, and it's active because it's injected in our body, and obviously it's artificial. So method of prophylaxis prevention is it's acts as a method of prophylaxis, means prevention. It's not a method of treatment. And principle is that work on principle of immunological memory. It works on the principle of immunological memory. Means by forming the memory, this vaccine actually has, because when the illegal pathogen enters your body, our body forms a and memory against it. So whenever the pathogen enters for the very second time and it's actually in action, our body will be able to produce a very fast response to it. The principle of vaccination, when we talk about the introduction of vaccine in a person, when we do, so first PIR is done, so the slow low intensity will be there, so immunological memory develop, and Team BM developed non actual infection, and an SI would be acting in a immunistic response with rapid high intensity, and that will be no infections. The pathogenicity, when we talk about chemical pathogenicity, would not be those chemicals we use like the formalin and the beta propanol acetone. Now, when I talk about the vaccine, there could be three kinds of vaccines. One is killed pathogen, weakened pathogen. Pathogenicity would be zero in that. Pathogen exotoxin means toxicity would be lower, and antigenic protein of pathogen. So when about the these types of vaccine, complete pathogen, exotoxin pathogen, antigenic protein of pathogen. So we have always these things to be considered in that. So like after attenuation means after weakening when we dose it the line vaccine and it has SIR bomb. So it's a trick of learning that. So SIR bomb would be like smallpox, rotavirus, bacillus calmette-guerin, and OPV, oral polio vaccine, MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella. And one of the after inactivation kill vaccine. So there are SCIGPW, so rabies, self polio, cholera, influenza, for typhoid, pneumonia, or whooping cough. It was already complete pathogen would be like in this kill vaccine because the pathogen is first kill and then injection in the body so would deprive that. So yeah, it's like that. And what the toxoid vaccine. So GT, and the BT would be there in the botulinum toxoid and tetanus toxoid and the perotoxide or the goals and serum. Yeah, so until what the next one is antigenic protein of antigens and recombinant vaccine. So example of this is hepatitis B vaccine, as you know, that's producing using the DNA recombinant technology. Yes, yeah. So second generation vaccines like the third generation vaccine is still on work. So they are changing the human DNA in such a way that we don't even get an infection. Then hepatitis B vaccine we talk about this. So pathogen is there, antigen is there. So isolating the antigen from a gene and attached to the YEC is artificial chromosome and the transgenic organism culture and also like the antigen actually. So passive immunization when we talk about this antiserum or antivenom we talk about. So artificial passive acquired immunity, so no memory develop. No memory develop. Passive immunization, artificial. No memory develop. Method of treatment itself. So passive immunization. So when you talk about the active immunization, so actually it's a method of prophylaxis. Between all the passive immunization is actually a method of treatment you see. So ATS, anti-tetanus serum, anti-diphtheria serum, anti-snake venom, and anti-rabies serum. So these are all the inside this and damn gosh, it's so nice to play. I'm doomed for sure. How can I everything with deals this sports lead to breaking up Okay, continue. Transplantation, grafting, transmitted organ. MSC, HLA system, HLA, human leukocyte antigen, MSC, major histopathology complex, MSC protein of the SC gene 6 chromosome. Central normal body cells except the RBC. We are talking about the MSC first, and we talk about the MSC second. We are actually talking about the anti-fusion presenting cell, that is an APC. And MSC first, MSC second. MSC has two functions. One is recognizing the self antigen and then other recognizing the non-self ones. The transplantation procedure includes 4 steps: blood group matching, pre-operative immunosuppressive drug like cyclosporin obtained from the fungus Trichoderma polysporum, MSC matching, post-operative immunosuppressor. So yes, like that, and the types of transplantation, allografts transplant within our organism. Allograft transplant between the organism, the same genetic contribution of the monozygotic twins, and the allographic homographic. So transplant between two organisms of the same species. It's called getting so heavy on me, and all the things are getting on my nerves. And sorry, I'm so sorry. But things are really sometimes difficult to deal with. immune system disorders. So we have allergy, autoimmune disorders, and immunodeficiency disorder. So when we talk about the allergy, so it's a hypersensitive. I hope you don't mind people that cough in different ways. So yeah, so yeah, we are talking about that allergy. We are talking about immune system disorders. So allergy means is hypersensitive and exaggerated immune response to the body. So allergens are present substances or with some allergies being caused, and we have like the pollen, the particles, mites, animal general, etc. in presenting it. So mechanism would be like that: the entry of allergens in the body. So it will activate the beta lymphocytes and please. Yeah, so like that. So mechanism is like the entry of allergens in the body to activate the beta lymphocyte, and IgE is produced. As I have already told you that the IgE is the body which is responsible for that allergies and bind the mast cells and the basophils, release the histamine and the serotonin, and it will cause you the allergy, will react to this because how is the allergy is actually being caused. So when first the allergens enter, it activates the beta lymphocytes, and when the mast cells, the basophils are present there, and releasing the histamine and serotonin, and it will actually lead to the allergy that the person suffers with. So it's about the treatment and its diagnosis. So AST, as you know, is an allergy sensitivity test, and we get to know whether the person is allergic to actually which thing, because we have got to know about the different kinds of like allergens that we possible for that. And Mr. Collins, so yeah, so antihistamine drugs. For that, we have treatment like we are exposing the person to many kind of allergens. So for getting them treated so fast, so we have like the many kind of treatment, very fast treatment that we gone for it. There are antihistamine drugs, and one is adrenaline, and one more is and that's the steroids. It will be helping in getting us away from the allergens so soon. So we're talking about the allergy. So there are actually main three kinds of allergies that we'll be interested in learning about them, and the first one is bronchial asthma. So actually it is allergy of the lower respiratory tract, because as you know the bronchus is all part of the lower respiratory tract, obviously it's like that. So yeah, it's going like that. So its symptoms are like painful breathing would be there, and wheezing sound while breathing would occur. So by this we will get to know that yes, the person is suffering from the bronchial asthma, which is kind of allergy. And now let's see how this kind of allergy gets in our body. So entry of allergens in the body. So respiratory tract, obviously the respiratory tract. So activate the beta lymphocytes, IgE is produced in the bind most of the and histamine, serotonin, and respiratory. Sorry, actually I got down that kind of standing explanation. So as for actually sorry, I must not get mild things involved in your study method. I'm very sorry for that. And yes, let's continue. I will just like to maintain myself and I try to develop that in the best way. Yeah, well. So yeah, when you talk about the bronchial asthma, entry of allergens in the body, so respiratory tract, activate beta. So IgE is produced by muscles and basophils. So this is related information with the bronchitis of the serotonin vasoconstriction muscles, bronchospasm. When constriction will be occurring, and there's dyspnea as a causing of painful breathing, actually when it's a cause of allergy with the bronchial asthma. And then the hay fever is allergy with the upper respiratory tract and conjunctivitis of the eyes. And anaphylactic shock most severe in the generalized form of allergy, because entry of the hypersensitive allergen like example penicillin means sometimes the patients even get allergy to the medicines. So yeah, it's the case here. So beta lymphocytes activate, IgEs produce activate mast cells, and here the IgEs produce a great number. So histamine vasodilation would be occurring, so blood pressure would be falling very rapidly, and at the same time serotonin bronchospasm, difficulty in breathing, it will lead to cardiac arrest and death. So in this case, when we feel the blood pressure is falling so slowly, it's falling very low, very low, and the person is having difficulty in breathing, and just give him adrenaline, means like inject him with a pen or whatever. So you have increase in BP, because whenever the adrenaline is released, you will have increase in BP. So autoimmune disorders. So body loses power to discriminate between self and non-self, attack cells and autoimmune disorder. autoimmune disorder, myasthenia gravis, pernicious anemia, arthritis, Hashimoto disease, IgDM, multiple sclerosis, psoriasis. Would lose power to discriminate between self and non-self attack cells as autoimmune disorder, myasthenia gravis, pernicious anemia, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto disease, IgDM, multiple sclerosis, psoriasis, autologous, myasthenia gravis. So let's go. We were on the NCT actually. Coming back on it. So autoimmunity is a memory-based. Wait. Starting again. So we are starting again with myasthenia gravis. So autoimmunity. We are talking about it. So autoimmunity, we have seen that memory-based acquired immunity evolved with higher vertebrates based on the ability to differentiate foreign organisms, example pathogens. So memory-based acquired immunity involves in higher vertebrates based on the ability to differentiate foreign organisms, example pathogens, from self cells. While we still do not understand the basis of this two corollaries of this ability have to be understood. One, higher vertebrates can distinguish foreign molecules as well as foreign organisms. Most of these experimental immunological deals with this aspect. Two, sometimes due to genetic and other unknown reasons, the body attacks cells. This results in damage to the body and is called autoimmune disease. Rheumatoid arthritis, which affects many personal studies, is an autoimmune disease. So memory-based acquired immunity involved in higher vertebrates. So sometimes the body is not able to recognize it. It's our own body cells, but it starts acting against it. That occurs in this case. The myasthenia gravis antibodies acts against the ACS. So obviously the weakening of muscle and degeneration of muscle will be occurring in that case. Pernicious anemia, megaplastic anemia. So in the gastric mucus, oxyntic cells, parietal cells are there. So the CIF, so the scarcity interesting factor, would in binding with the vitamin B12 complex. So absorption of vitamin B12 would be reduced, and that's why maturation of RBC would decrease, so that would lead to anemia. And it's not the megaplastic anemia because in this case, obviously, it's a very great change. When sickle cell anemia is a macrocystic change, and over the Hashimoto disease, so antibodies against the thyroid gland. So it's not like that actually. It's the thyroid binding protein. Please repeat for. And over the rheumatoid arthritis, so obviously the fever. We have the synovial membrane. So in this case, actually, due to presence of rheumatoid factor, IgM rheumatoid factor. So antibody against the synovial membrane. So inflammation will be occurring to the left untreated. So synovial fluid will increase and the pain will be there. So synovial membrane starts secretes hard fibrous granules known as pannus, and it's PANNUS, and erosion of articulation cartilage. So abnormal fibrous tissue form at the damaged site. Abnormal fibrous tissue format dermacyte. Ring gets secreted hard fibrous granule penis. Erosion of articular cartilage. So abnormal fibrous tissue form the damage and finally calcium deposits, so joint will become immobile and it's autoimmune. So IgTM, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, types 1 as the beta cells arise, so insulin would be increased, so blood glucose will increase, so hyperglycemia would be occurring, so normal glucose level is blood glucose level is 90 to 110 milligram per deciliter, but it would be increasing. So symptoms like polyuria, polypsia, polyphagia, glycosodium, ketonuria would be increasing. So there was a treatment would be subcutaneous insulin would be injected in the body, and the multiple sclerosis when you talk about the myelin sheath is there. So antibody against myelin sheath, so destruction of myelin sheath, the nerve condition, depressed, and neurological dysfunction would be occurring in this case. So yeah, it's like that. And lastly, when we talk about this systemic lupus erythematosus, so the butterfly-shaped redness would be occurring, and it would be causing pain. And PIR mainly IgM is formed, and SIR mainly IgG is formed. Hypoglycemia going to cause lupus. So if the skin comes out. Immunodeficiency disorder. So when I talk about that, so primary congenital and secondary acquired are there. So immunodeficiency disorders, we have SCID, and in SCID we have the severe combined immunodeficiency. So it's a bubble boy disease because by birth it is occurring due to deficiency of the ADA enzyme, the role in maturation of BT, no CMS and no MS. So treatment would be gene therapy. First time SCID was done in girl child. and secondary acquired AIDS. So normally T helper cells are 900 to like 10 power 5 6 per liter, but if the T helper goes to in AIDS thing, T helper gets so 200 into 10 power 6 per liter, and immunomolecular sprint over the subunit substance which either increase or decrease the response of immune system. Immunotherapy is like that augmentation or suppressing, so increasing or decreasing of the immune response for the treatment. So immunotherapy, we have two things: immunopotential therapy. Using immune deficiency disorder means we increasing the immunity by alpha INF, ATS, APS, CSV, TNF, tumor necrosis factor, or we are suppressing the immune system in like in energy, autoimmune system, and in grafting. So example, cyclosporin A, steroids, and a cortisol. So yeah, so it's like that. Cyclosporin A, Down syndrome. Now, immune system in the body. So the human immune system consists of lymphoid organs, tissue cells, and soluble molecules like antibodies. As your immune system is unique in the sense that it recognizes foreign antigens, responds to these, and remembers them. The immune system also plays a role in allergic reactions, autoimmune diseases, and organ transplantation. Lymphoid organs, these are organs where origin or maturation proliferation of lymphocytes occurs. Primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus, where immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocyte. After maturation, the lymphocytes migrate to secondary lymphoid organs like spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, Peyer's patches of small intestine and appendix. The secondary lymphoid organs provide the sites for interaction of lymphocytes. The secondary lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs provide the sites for the interaction of lymphocytes with the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. What does primary lymphoid organs do? For interaction of lymphocytes within the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. Primary lymphoid organs, they are forming originally and provide the sites for interaction of lymphocytes with the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. The location of each lymphoid in human body is shown in figure 5. The bone marrow is the main lymphoid organ where all the blood cells, including lymphocytes, are produced. The thymus is a lobed organ located near the heart, beneath the breastbone. The thymus is quite large at the time of birth, but keeps reducing size with the age, and by the time puberty is attained, it reduces very small size. Both bone marrow and thymus provide microenvironment for the development and maturation of the T lymphocytes. The spleen is a large bean-shaped organ. It mainly contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. The spleen is a large bean-shaped organ. It mainly contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. It acts as a filter of the blood by trapping blood-borne microorganisms. The spleen also has a large reservoir of erythrocytes. The lymph nodes are small solid structures located at the different points along the lymphatic system. The lymph nodes serve to trap the microorganisms or other antigens which happen to get into the lymph and tissue fluid. Antigens trapped in the lymph nodes are responsible for activation of lymphocytes. Antigens trapped in the lymph nodes are responsible for the activation of T lymphocytes within there and cause the immune response. There is a lymphoid tissue also located within the lining of the major tracts, respiratory, digestive, and energetic called mucosa. It contributes about 50% of the lymphoid tissue of the human body. So it was all about the topic of immunity. I hope it was not all much rushed because I'm actually out of time, and that's called that. So extremely sorry for all the things if you have suffered with any kind of thing, and I hope it would help. This video will help you. Thank you so much.